something I haven't done in a while. I call these videos stupid things. Honestly, there's no rhyme or reason behind the name, but I started doing them a while ago to promote my work, to keep myself active, to keep myself thinking. And usually what I would do is talk about something from memory, or if I had more time, I'd revisit something and then talk about it. This was a request. I was asked to talk about the show Dexter's Lab. It's a show I grew up with, and if you're clicking on this link, I assume you've seen it, I assume you know it, but for those of you who don't, it's about a kid who has a secret lab in his bedroom, and his parents never find out about it. It's a show, I really liked it because I liked the mad scientist angle. The show's by Jenji Tartakovsky, who's behind the Hotel Transylvania series, and he's very talented. Yep, Seth MacFarlane worked on this. So, you had a lot of very well-known people in the animation industry working on this show. It's considered an early classic, especially among millennials. I'm not really sure what people older or younger thought of the show. This is also a show I revisited because I liked catching all the references, the pop culture references, the dirty jokes. It made me feel cool and special. But I will say, it's not a show I feel the need to revisit. It has a distinct formula. There's definitely things I remember about it. It has its quirky charm to it. I love the animation style. But it didn't make as lasting an impact on me as something like Codename Kids Next Door, or Billy and Mandy, or Angela Anaconda. But I would say the thing that really did stick out to me was the mad scientist angle. Because I always liked that. I've been around a lot of scientists. And I remember, the big thing I do remember regarding Dexter's Lab is that a couple years later, Jimmy Neutron came out. And there was a rivalry between, people thinking Jimmy Neutron was just a ripoff of Dexter's Lab, when the only thing those two shows really have in common is the boy genius, mad scientist angle. But they were very different shows, and I think now, as many years have passed, yes, we are older, people really appreciate both of those shows for what they are, and there isn't that rivalry and comparing and contrasting anymore. We have moved on to complaining about other things. But I would say Dexter's Lab is probably more angsty, and Jimmy Neutron's got more of the fun, whimsical, silly, action-adventure thing going on. I also feel like I would say Dexter's Lab is more, you got more Dexter and Dee Dee. Those are the two protagonists, obviously Dexter more so. But Jimmy Neutron, you had more of the ensemble cast, because you had his two friends, Carl and Sheen, and then you had Cindy and Libby, and they were more of a group, even if some of the characters you didn't see nearly as often. But they're good shows for different reasons, and maybe aside from a couple episodes, I could safely say, while I do like the shows, I do respect them, and I certainly loved them growing up. As an adult, if they came out today, I'd probably check out a couple episodes, say, yeah, that's pretty cool, and then move on. Because I can't quite explain it, but something, well, again, aside from maybe the mad scientist angle, there is something about it that just doesn't connect with me nearly as deeply as some other shows have. But it's still good and interesting in its own right. And it's quirky, it's interesting, it's memorable, and I would say the episodes I remember the best. I remember the episode, just because of how weird it is, I remember the episode where Dee Dee befriends a Sasquatch, and there's a lot of emphasis on their feet, which I didn't think too much of as a kid, but I saw a clip of that recently and thought, that's weird. But maybe I'm overthinking it. Or maybe someone behind the scenes had a foot fetish that they're putting into their kids' show. There's a conspiracy. Remember that one. And I remember the one where, I remember the episode where there's the dead goldfish and then Dee Dee gets captured and she's essentially a ghost around the house and Dexter has to essentially put this goldfish to rest, or Dee Dee's into the underworld forever, which is a really cool idea. That was a really fun episode. I remember seeing that one a lot and really being into the spooky side of it. I also remember the episode where they had this Willy Wonka type. They had the Willy Wonka type character with Professor Hawk, who I think might have been a parody of Stephen Hawking. I'll have to revisit it. But I remember instead of a golden ticket, it's a golden floppy disk, because that is how people saved projects in the 90s. Yeah, that was a fun one. I also remember Mandark's introduction story, and his name was really Susan. He was born to hippie parents. I'm just listing episodes. I also remember the one where Dexter and Mandark are having a competition of whose dad could beat up who. I remember the fan-made episode. I think it was a fan-made episode with Dexter and Computerist, which, looking back, I wonder if that was someone's fanfiction that got made into an episode. I think that's what the deal was. I don't remember. I'm going off memory on these, but I remember a lot about it because I watched way too much TV as a kid. But yeah, it was a likable show. I remember a lot about it. It's quirky, it's interesting, it's weird. It's one that has a very distinct formula. If you like that formula, great. It's one that, as an adult, I'm not as into, but still respect the talent behind it. And there is no longer a rivalry with Jimmy Neutron, which I can respect because they're both good shows. Those are my thoughts on Dexter's Lab. I'd be curious what you think.